Hello
everyone, I welcome you all to the online classes of Girls High School and College. Today we are going to study geography. The lesson that we have taken is landforms of the earth.
Landforms. The word geomorphology tells us about the systematic study of Earth's relief feature. The word describes itself as geo means earth, morpho means forum, and logy means science. So, in totality, it is known as the study of landforms. It says that landforms are the geological destructive configuration or conformations of the Earth's surface. When the nature causes disaster on the land surface, the new landforms that comes out. Those of landforms and the patterns, they influence human lives and activity a lot. So thus the study of landform is a primary concern to the geographers. The very first type of a landform that we will be studying is a mountain. It is a chain and it is an effective barrier between the groups of people who live in the lowlands, as well as it acts as a climatic barrier like the Himalayas, and it may shield a lowland from prevailing moisture-bearing winds, thus causing a desert. The next landform that we will be studying is a plain, and plains are the densely populated areas which are rich in agricultural resources. It has good network of railway and roadways where human life flourishes efficiently. Then we are having the coastlines, and the deep indented coastline with excellent harbour facility promotes fishing and ocean trades or shipbuilding. On the other hand, mountain slopes, the high mountain slopes, because of its altitude, climates become cooler, which makes it an ideal condition for human activity like agriculture and woodwork. These landforms on the Earth's surface, they pass through the series of change with the time, and they are sorted out on the basis of their form of origin. We are going to study about mountains, plateaus and plains. So very first one tells about the mountains. The definition says it is a portion of land surface rising considerably above the surrounding areas, either as a single eminence or a range of chain is known as mountains. So mountains, they have different features. They are sometimes very much heighted. Secondly, they appear to be a single eminence. For example, like the Kilimanjaro mountain, which stands for almost 5,895 meters above the sea level. Some of the mountains, they are very extensive one. They appears in chain. For example, the American Cordilleras, like your Rocky Mountains and the Andes, and some like Himalayas, that are the young mountains that have been developed and are still rising. There are certain old mountains that are also fold mountains, but are the older ones, and now they have been worn out. For example, Appalachian Mountains and the Aravalis. And this mountain system shows evidence of enormous forces. Why mountains are developed, how mountains are developed, that answer gives us that they have been developed by the forces which have folded, faulted and generally deformed large section of the Earth's crust. Now there are types of mountains that we are going to study. The types of mountains are the fold mountains. The first is the fold mountain. It tells that there are young fold mountains that are known as the new fold mountains that have appeared, like your Himalayas, Andes, Alps, Rockies. They are the young fold, new fold mountains. Now the term fold, it refers to the way in which these mountains have been formed, and it takes millions of years for the movement of the earth crust to have caused these mountains. Now how these mountains have formed, if you take a piece of tablecloth and you pressurize that tablecloth from both the sides, you will notice that there are folds that are being formed on the tablecloth. These folds, these wrinkles are called the fold. And in the similar way only, the earth's crust, when it is being pressurized on both the sides, these folds are formed, and these folds, the upraised portion is called anticlines and the throws as the synclines. Then comes your young fold mountains. Recently, these mountains have been formed, and they are the newest group of fold mountains. They include Himalayas, Alps, Rockies, and Andes. And there were certain mountains that are known as old fold mountains that probably were the older ones and appeared in the similar way. And for example, your Pennines, Appalachians, the Cape Range of South Africa, the Dividing Range of Australia, they were uplifted in the similar way, but they are old fold mountains and are much older than the new fold mountains that have been formed. And with the duration of time, what has happened that because they were being subject to different forces of nature like denudation and weathering, now they appear to be the lower hills and they are less rugged in comparison to the new fold mountains. The young fold mountains and volcanoes, they are very much associated with each other. Now because of the folding and faulting, what happens that the earth crust, it gets fractured because of this process, and due to this, these areas becomes more prone to the active volcanoes. And all the young fold mountains are found near the Pacific Ocean, and thus these volcanoes are very much active in the Pacific Ocean area, and thus they are known as Pacific Ring of Fire. The next one that we are studying is your block mountains. What happens that sometimes because of the movement of the earth crust, the cracks and faults develop, as you can see in the diagram. When such movement leaves a block of higher land standing between two areas of lower land, the highland that comes out is known as the block mountain or horst. The Vosges and the Black Forest are the example of such formation. Residual mountains. Now when an area of highlands, it remains standing above the general level after the rivers and the natural agents have lowered the surface of the surrounding area. Now the mountains are standing at their perfect height, but the surrounding areas have been lowered due to different agents. Such mountains are known as your residual mountains. For example, Helvellyn residual mountains, and these mountains are also called mountains of denudation. Then we are going to study about the plateaus. Plateaus are also being formed like the mountains in the similar way. It is defined as an elevated tract of relatively flat land, usually limited on at least one side by a steep slope falling abruptly to the lower land. So in a simpler way, plateau is an elevated tract. It is also a heighted one, but from the top they are flat. The types of plateaus says intermontane plateaus and volcanic plateaus that we are going to study. Intermontane plateaus, they are highest, largest, and in many respects they are the complex plateaus of the world. Why? Because these plateaus, they are surrounded by mountains and they are having extraordinary variety of topographic features. For example, plateau of Tibet, Mexican plateau, plateau of Bolivia and Peru. Then volcanic plateaus. When the lava erupts from the volcanoes, it results into numerous volcanic plateaus because of the lava that flows out, and when it cools, the plateaus that are formed are known as your lava plains. For example, Snake River region of the Idaho, USA. The next comes your plains. Plains, it is defined as an extensive flat area of low altitude. Now they are vast, they are flat, and they are not heighted. That's why they are appearing at the low altitude. It says that they are having local relief of less than 150 meters above the sea level. An important characteristic of plain is that they have completely level land, or sometimes they have gentle rolling topography found. Types of plains. According to the situation and the mode of origin, plains are classified into structural plains and the depositional plains. Now structural plains, they said that these plains, they lie near the coastal areas and they formed as a result of the emergence of sea bottom near the coast. The coastal area is flat area, and the newly emerged coastal plain, it is broad and wide. And such plains example are Russian platform, the Great Plains of USA, and the central lowlands of Australia. Now comes your depositional plains. Now, as the word tells, deposition. So it means when there is deposition of certain sediments, then such type of plains are formed. The depositional plains are of four types: alluvial plains, glacial deposit, Erloin-Loess's plains or deposition by wind, lacustrine plains or river deposit. So very first one that we are looking is your alluvial plains. It is formed by the gradual accumulation of silt that is being brought down by the rivers. The fan-shaped deposit, when the deposit is at the foot of the hills, they are called pediment alluvial fan. If the eroded material or load of a river is deposited in the form of a belt along the foot of the hills, it forms the pediment alluvial plain. It is called Bhabar in India. When river widens its valley or overflow its bank because of flood, the clay and sand deposit over a large area, and the plains which are formed are known as your flood plains. Then comes your delta plains. At the mouth of the river, the triangular plain of deposit material is called your delta plain. For example, your Huanghe, Ganges, Nile, Mississippi, etc. are the example of the fertile delta plains, and they support dense population. Glacial deposit. These plains are fertile owing to the deposit that is left by the continental glacier. When the glacier it melts, the debris they are deposited, and such plains are extensive in size. For example, the plains of Central North America and Western European plains. Now we are going to study Aeolian-Loess's plains or deposition by the winds. These plains are formed by the materials which have been transported and deposited by the winds. It happens in the desert area, for example, North China region. Then come your lacustrine plains or river deposit. These plains result from the filling of the lake beds. When river enters a lake, they are muddy. And the plain of Hungary in Europe and the plains surrounding Great Lakes of North America are the best examples.
Here we are ending, children. Thank you for watching. Stay home, stay safe.